Inflation. It's a word that can cause anxiety, uncertainty, and even fear. For many, it brings to mind the struggle to make ends meet. Simply put, inflation means rising prices. The cost of goods and services increases over time. When prices go up, your money buys less. This reduction in purchasing power affects everyone. This can make it hard to afford everyday essentials like food, clothing, and housing. Families often have to make tough choices. During wartime, inflation can be particularly challenging. Wars are expensive and require vast resources. Governments have to spend huge sums of money on weapons, equipment, and soldiers' salaries. This spending is crucial for the war effort. This increased demand can drive up prices. More money in circulation often leads to higher costs. Additionally, wars often disrupt supply chains. The production and distribution of goods are affected. This means that goods become scarcer, further contributing to inflation. Rationing becomes a common practice to manage shortages. In 1940, as the shadow of war loomed large over the world, the United States was still experiencing the aftershocks of the Great Depression. The economy was slowly recovering, and the inflation rate was relatively modest at 1%. This period of economic stability provided a sense of normalcy for many Americans. However, this period of relative stability was not to last. The global political climate was changing rapidly, and the United States was on the brink of a significant transformation. The attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 jolted the nation into war and had a profound impact on the economy. The sudden shift to a wartime footing required massive mobilization and production efforts. As a result, the inflation rate jumped dramatically to 10.9% in 1942. This sharp increase reflected the heightened demand for goods and services needed for the war effort. As the U.S. ramped up its war effort, demand for goods and services soared, putting upward pressure on prices. Factories operated around the clock, and workers were in high demand. The years 1943 and 1944 saw inflation moderate somewhat to 6.1% and 1.7% respectively. This moderation was a result of several factors, including increased production efficiency and government intervention. This was due in part to government price controls and rationing, measures aimed at curbing inflation. Ration books and coupons became a part of daily life, ensuring that resources were distributed fairly. However, the war's end in 1945 brought a new surge in demand, pushing inflation back up to 2.8%. The return to a peacetime economy saw a rush to purchase consumer goods that had been scarce during the war years, leading to renewed inflationary pressures. The massive increase in defense spending during World War II was a major driver of inflation. The government poured billions of dollars into the war effort, creating a surge in demand for raw materials, manufactured goods, and labor. This surge in demand, coupled with wartime shortages, pushed prices higher. The government's need to finance the war also played a role. To cover its expenses, the government borrowed heavily, increasing the money supply and further fueling inflation. Section 4. Economic policies and their effects. To combat wartime inflation, the U.S. government implemented a number of economic policies. These included price controls, rationing, and wage controls. Price controls limited how much businesses could charge for certain goods, while rationing restricted the amount of goods that consumers could buy. Wage controls limited how much employers could increase wages. These policies were designed to curb inflation by suppressing demand. While these measures had some success in controlling prices, they also led to shortages and black markets. Section 5. The legacy of wartime inflation. The inflation experienced during World War II had a lasting impact on the U.S. economy. The war years saw a significant increase in the national debt. The government's wartime spending and borrowing left a legacy of debt that would take decades to pay down. The war also led to changes in the labor force. With millions of men away fighting, women entered the workforce in record numbers. This had a profound impact on American society and challenged traditional gender roles. Section 6. Conclusion. A transformed economic landscape. The inflation of the World War II years was a period of significant economic upheaval, marked by rapid changes and challenges. It was a time of rising prices, shortages, and government intervention in the economy as the government took unprecedented steps to control the market. Yet, it was also a time of remarkable economic mobilization and growth, with industries shifting focus to support the war effort. The war effort transformed the U.S. into an industrial powerhouse, producing vast quantities of war materials, and laid the foundation for the post-war economic boom. The legacy of those years, from the national debt to the changing role of women in the workforce, continues to shape the American economy today. Women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers, taking on roles that were previously unavailable to them. This period set the stage for the economic prosperity of the 1950s and beyond, influencing the economic policies and societal norms that we see today.